Yo, Cal.
Yo, I'm coming in right now.
Okay.
There we go. Perfect. Parachuting in, baby.
All right, I should probably let him in.
There we go.
There we go.
Hey, the four screen looks good, baby.
Dude, it looks good, man. Foreskin.
The foreskin.
let's not call it that. Brad, you're gonna have to make up a new name for that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll come up with something on my spare time.
All right.
All right. Let's do it. All right. We are joined by Naked Take contributors. Kyle Banaszewski does the entertainment side, movie reviews. Go check him out. If you're wondering what's hot, what's not, go check out on that on the entertainment side. Tyson Gentry joins me on the Brad Wakai Show. We talk about basketball. He also writes about the MMA for the Naked Take. Go check out the website. And of course, you know me, Brad Wakai, and the man, the myth, the legend himself, Matt Johnson, Johnny Radio. Welcome to the pod, boys. How you guys doing tonight?
Good, man. Good to be here. My bad.
Oh, yeah, sorry to cut you off.
Used to.
No,
We're gonna lose a lot of money this week, boys. So let's see how it goes.
So for those of you guys who don't know, we're all in a pick'em challenge through the website here. Kyle came in very confident, and he's been pulling up the rear the whole season. He's starting to turn around, though. I will say he's starting to get the wagon on the track.
Yeah. So far, it's kind of been rough. 2 games, I think, under 500. I pushed twice, and in our league, we're not counting those as wins. So hopefully, I can turn it around here soon. There's been some crazy upsets. I was going to say earlier on in the season. It's starting to pan out now that we can kind of see how each team is doing. Obviously, coming into the season was a very weird situation without having a lot of OTAs or the preseason. So I'm confidently optimistic looking forward. We'll say that.
I mean, it's definitely been weird without fans. Like, it's hard to figure out because New Orleans, at home they're like untouchable on the spread, and now they, Aaron Rodgers is hard counting on the road. It's just so weird. Tyson, you started off hot. You got a little cold. What's going on? How are we getting it back on track?
I'm blaming every single kicker in the NFL. We just make field goal kicks. I'm probably undefeated right now. No, man, I can't pick the spread to save my life. I don't know what it is, but yeah, just stay away from the birds and I'll be in good shape.
Ugh.
Have you thought of doing the exact opposite of what you might be picking, or is that just going for your gut? This is what I'm doing. Let's ride.
I'm always just going with the gut.
I don't know. I'm sorry, Johnson. I don't know if you're asking that a general question or for Tyson.
Oh, that could be a general because I'm fucking doing terrible. I mean, how it doesn't make any sense. This whole season's like a fucking whack, right? So, I mean,
yeah. I guess for myself, I don't know. Last week, a lot of the lines were a touchdown even, which I usually try to stay away from because there's a lot of push scenarios with that, which I know has gotten me the first couple weeks. Anything that is under 3 is kind of attractive to me, especially when it comes to underdogs and stuff. I know I did screw up on that Jags pick. I think they were plus 5.5.
Yeah.
I think
everybody had the Jags except for myself and Christian.
See, that's what's the problem now because it's such whack with what's going on, and you can't pick a spread like that. And even when you pick okay, we have 7.5, you buy it down, it's still not worth it. You never know what's going to happen with this league right now.
Yeah, totally agree. And I know last couple weeks the Ravens and Chiefs have had some very crazy, outlandish NFL lines. I think 11.5, which that's huge, regardless of how good you are. And I know a lot of people. Not saying in our pick'em challenge, but across the United States, had the Chiefs, and I know Johnson, you picked the Raiders plus 11.5. That was a very good pick. I mean, they won outright. So, and I think that's gonna start changing the line for them, honestly, down the season. Because to be fair, I know in a lot of the power rankings, they're considered top 3. But honestly, watching them play, I haven't been crazy impressed. They probably lost to the Chargers. They lost to the Raiders. If, Cam was playing for New England and, Stidham and Hoyer didn't make 2 crazy mistakes down, in the red zone, where they didn't come up with any points, and I don't think Cam makes those mistakes, I mean, that's another potential loss. So, I mean, that's 3 right there. So,
yeah, what I think is there's only a handful of teams like in the NFL that are actually competitive, and I don't think the Chiefs mind losing like 3 or 4 games this year. You know what I mean? Like when it comes down to the playoffs, I mean, you look at the teams in the AFC and NFC, like I think the Chiefs are fine. Like even though they lost Derek Carr and that whole fiasco that happened, I think they're completely fine. In the same way, I don't think the Steelers are that good. You know what I mean? I just think Roethlisberger is, I mean, put it this way, like we won 8 games last year and we had no quarterback. But we're not competitive at all. We're not going to win a championship. I think a team like Kansas City, Seattle is what's going to be paramount in the end. I mean, obviously we got a lot to see what's going to happen. So it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Tyson's, we always kind of talk about this, like when we think about the NFL, like who's been really, besides like the Jets who are just shitty, the Giants have been shitty for like 5 years. Like who's been like extremely disappointing for you so far?
Disappointing?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously you gotta say the Cowboys have been disappointing. If every year they come in, they got probably the most stacked offense in the league. Dak's putting up 500 yards a game. They're still losing. As much as like I genuinely dislike the Dallas Cowboys, and Mike McCarthy's the same coach that Green Bay let go a year ago.
Same coach,
like, yeah. They I don't know what they thought they were getting into, but the talent that they have does not match the record that they have right now. If I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm disappointed. Yeah, that's the one that jumps out the page to me.
Yeah, it definitely is strange. And Philly's been disappointing too. I mean, again, they're just decimated by injuries, but well, that's a different tangent for a different day that I could go on. But honestly, for me, it's the Falcons. I mean, that team is way too talented to be what they are right now, 0-5, with a very competent quarterback in Matt Ryan. But, they rolled the dice with Dan Quinn again, and,
and it's so unfortunate because they peaked. They're done. That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt Ryan is – as good as he is, the Falcons are never going to be that team again, right? After 28-3, and Matt Ryan might just ride off into the sunset. That's it.
I know, Kyle, you were talking a lot about this draft's loaded for quarterbacks, and we kind of chatted a little bit about if the Falcons went 0-16, would they move on from Lawrence?
You mean Ryan?
Or from Ryan and move into Lawrence? I mean, where do you think, personally for Trevor Lawrence, where do you think he'd be the best fit schematically?
That's a great question, Brad. And I was actually pondering that very question before coming on here because I figured it would come up. It's really interesting because, again, Matt Ryan, I wouldn't say he's elite and I wouldn't say he's bad. I'd say he's, somewhere in the good range. He's getting older now. He's 36, I believe. He has a couple more years left on his contract, which is honestly, I think, the biggest thing for them moving forward. If they were to move on from him, especially next year, if not the following year, they're taking a pretty big cap hit. I believe the cap this year is like 190 something million. I think next year it drops down to like 175. And I believe moving off of him next year would render like a $26 million cap hit, which is honestly pretty significant. But, I think if they do end up only winning 1 or 2 games, and, Lawrence or Fields is available, I would highly consider, picking one of them up, even if you had to sit them for a year and, let some of that cap, not take the hit or not take the hit for the cap space and kind of, have a veteran, mentor them. I do believe either of them could come right into this league and, kill it. But I mean, if the Falcons had that opportunity to pick one of them up, I would definitely go for it. I mean, the Falcons have some weapons on offense, and if they could rebuild their defense a little bit, I think they could be again 9-10 win team, especially now that Quinn's gone, and if they can get someone competent in there to start finishing some games, they could definitely win.
How does the team strategize? Like, not thinking about tanking necessarily, but you're not going to get Trevor first overall, right? Because that's going to be, I mean, even though the Falcons are winless, but like, how do you get a guy like Fields? Like, how do you set that up as a coach coming in? You know what I mean? That's one of the ultimate things that I've always like thought about. You know what I mean? Like, what's the mentality coming in for a coach like that, whoever it may be?
I mean, honestly, I would do what the Dolphins do or have done. I think they've handled this perfectly. You know,
Well, you have a guy like Fitzpatrick, and then you have Tua. Like, that's kind of a little bit different. I guess you have like Matt Ryan, obviously, but like, I don't think Matt Ryan has that thing in his head that he's on his way out. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Fitzpatrick, he knows he's not going to be the guy long term. I think, right? So,
yeah, he's got it. He's got to realize that.
Oh,
So yeah.
I was just going to say one more thing. That's actually interesting you bring up, the Dolphins, because I think they're also in a very unique situation. Obviously, I would say they're technically in a rebuild with, Brian Flores down there. I think, he's creating a very good atmosphere down there. Regardless whether they're winning or they're losing, they're playing competitive, and it seems like the players actually want to be there and play for him, which I think is very important to have that mindset in the NFL. And I'd really like to see if Tua gets to play maybe 8-9 games this season. And honestly, if they only end up again with 2, 3, 4 wins and they have an opportunity to get a Justin Fields or Lance from North Dakota State and Tua, like, he's looking shaky, I wouldn't mind if they picked up a quarterback because, nowadays, you see Herbert come in, you see Burrow come in, and they've been effective right away, in Burrow's case, a bad team. And he's still, looking pretty good. And if Tua comes in and he's looking shaky, I wouldn't mind if they, went after another quarterback and see if it pans out. I mean, they're going to have a lot of top 10 picks this year. I think they have Houston's pick.
They got a lot of their picks.
They got a lot, yeah.
Which is a big deal. So they're going to have 2 or 3 possibly top 10 picks, which, I mean, they have some thinking to do there.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Tyson, let's talk big picture for the NFL and just in terms of moving forward, going from this kind of weird COVID year and then moving into next year when they finally get fans back into the stands, but with a lower salary cap. How do we think that's going to play forward in terms of what the quarterbacks are asking for money-wise, how it seems like contracts keep going up? Like, what are your general thoughts on that?
Well, I know that these quarterbacks are going to be looking at the number everyone else is getting. I mean, Dak Prescott can't ask for Patrick Mahomes money before the ankle injury or whatever, obviously, but it's got to be a pride thing too, a little bit. It's going to be a percentage thing. I think it'll boil down to, like, maybe you don't make $40 million a season, but your percentage of the cap hit, these guys are going to want probably the same amount that a Patrick Mahomes is getting and stuff like that, but it's going to fall on these really talented general managers in the league are going to separate themselves from guys like I'm just trying to think in my head, but people that have kind of blown up their entire team to build around this quarterback. And then we've seen over and over again, like New England's pretty much the only team in the last decade that is built around a quarterback that wasn't on their rookie deal. And that was Brady taking back end deals. He probably owns part of that team now or whatever. But I think that's my takeaway from next season that I'm looking forward to is what GMs are going to separate themselves as.
Tyson, what do you think that line is between, like, you look at a guy like Belichick and he obviously is frustrated that he doesn't have a quarterback. So, like, what are they looking at? You know what I mean? To say, this is our guy, this is what we can deal with for the long term.
I think that falls onto kind of what they want to be able to do as an offense. I think Belichick knows that he might only have to score 21 points to win games. Granted, they had 8 defensive players opt out because of COVID, but I mean, in Atlanta, like, before the season, Dan Quinn knew somebody's scoring 40 on him every week. Like, you got right. They had a first round pick at every position before Trevor got cut. So it was like, I think that has a lot to do with it, where we see over and over again, teams that build through the draft are a lot better off than teams that build through free agency and or bargain bin hunting. But a lot of these guys can't do that.
No, I think that's a good point. I like that idea about the percentage of the salary cap, because I think that's a way to appease the egos of many of these players. Like Jalen Ramsey got the bag, but when the next quarterback comes up,
it's such an appeasement league now. You know
True.
what I mean? That's what a lot of teams are like going for. You know what I mean? And and that's fine in the long term. I mean, you see the same thing with like Dak, even like with Jerry Jones. I mean, you got to give him a certain amount, and a lot of people are expecting that, and it's really just a dollar amount that you see, which is unfortunate, but that's kind of the way things play out, in the long term here.
No, absolutely. Kyle, I was kind of curious about your thoughts on this one, and because you gave us a breakdown of your thoughts on the Chiefs, which I agree with. I don't think they've looked stellar. In terms of the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, this is probably like the third or even close to the fourth week in a row that their offense hasn't really exploded like we've seen the past couple years. Is that more of a fundamental aspect of teams are catching up to what that offense does, or is it just the fact that that was such a flash in the pan and they reached such high levels that they're naturally going to come back down and regress?
That's a great question as well, Brad. And I'm not going to lie, I have not watched a lot of the Ravens so far this year. I did watch, obviously, the Chiefs game where they did not look good at all, and they were at home, which, again, was disappointing for them, I'm sure. I know, a lot of people have them winning 13, 14, 15 games potentially. And, I still think they'll definitely win at least 12, 13 games. Now, whether or not they look pretty, doing it is another question. But again, this is a one-game league, and it's all going to come down to the playoffs, which they'll make for sure. It'll be interesting to see when they start playing, divisional teams, Cleveland and Pittsburgh later on in the season. Weather starts getting cold. Can Lamar keep it together? Can they start moving the ball if the box is getting stacked with 70 guys? Lamar hasn't looked all that great, to be honest. Especially throwing the ball. I think he's missed a couple easy routine throws, and I think he does rely on Andrews a little too much in certain instances where he kind of just eyes him down and is set on throwing to him. Now, Andrews obviously is a mismatch for a lot of safeties or backers who are on him, and I think later on, like in New England, how they like to neutralize the number one threat. So I wouldn't be surprised if they end up playing New England at some point in the playoffs. Belichick has a backer kind of fronting him and a safety behind as like a bracket, kind of neutralize him, and then Gilmore on what's his name, Antonio Brown's cousin,
Marquise Brown,
Hollywood. And then Gilmore on him, and that who leaves like Willie Snead and like whoever else. So I don't know. Like, I hope they can force Lamar to make those tough throws, or whoever it is playing them. Being a New England fan, I think it's been great over the years that Bill Belichick can be a defensive genius. And then you have Josh McDaniels, who could literally scheme up an entire new game plan week to week, just depending on who they're going against, which is, something I admire most about him. And honestly, what gives, New England a great chance every year, no matter who they play, no matter, the lack of talent, they might have, that some people, always say, they don't have any stars or playmakers. But it doesn't really matter, because it all comes down to matchups in the NFL. And if, you can out scheme someone else and, do your job, as Bill Belichick always says, you always have a chance to win. So.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I think that's like the thing about the dynasty that people fail to mention is everybody's like, well, Belichick and Brady. I'm like, yeah, but Belichick doesn't deal with the offense. It's McDaniels. And I think a lot of people overlook that. And I think that's why he's so valuable. And I think people always kind of harp on him for his Broncos stint, even though he won a playoff game with Tim Tebow. And then when he backtracked from the Colts, against your Steelers.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
And then when he backtracked from the Colts too, it's like, oh, Josh McDaniels, who's kind of an asshole, kind of a weirdo, it's kind of by himself. But I think he's a hot commodity. I think he's going to either wait for the perfect job with the Patriots, or he's going to take a big job like the Falcons or something like that. Just throw something out there.
I think he's really smart enough to resist that and do that. You know what I mean? Like, I think he would have done that at some point already. I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think he's smart enough to set himself up like, okay, this is going to be my position for the long term. I mean, just going off that at the same time, like Belichick, my one question is, what does he have left to prove? Kyle, you might be able to answer this better, but like, what is there left?
I mean, yeah, he's definitely getting older, and obviously, his career is unmatched. I mean, I think he's the best head coach, to ever do it. But I really, there's always been those reports him and Brady had bad blood, especially towards the end. I just think he just wants to continue a winning culture up there and just show that, he is a very large contributor to their success. And, it's not all Brady, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's all him, but, it's a good combination of the two. But I think you definitely need, a great head coach who, again, can scheme up a plan to put you in position to win every week. And then, it's up to Brady and all the other players who, when they were there, to go out in the field and, again, do their job. I really think, if he could get to, one more AFC championship or, another Super Bowl run within the next 2, 3, 4 years, I could see him packing up and possibly retiring. Like I said, he is getting older. And if he, hands the keys down to McDaniels, I think that'd be a very smooth transition. Again, I think McDaniels is seasoned enough. And I think, Belichick's habits and traits have kind of now, passed on to McDaniels to a certain extent. And I think he would try to continue most of that in New England if he did stay. I'm sure.
Do you think he'd really be a guy to just hand the reins over? Because I've thought about this a million times in my life. Like, is Belichick or like Saban just like, I'm done? You know what I mean? Like, just hand it off, or like?
I mean, that's honestly a great question. I can't see him wanting or willing really to go anywhere else. I don't think he's in it for the money at all. I think because Kraft,
like, would it take like something to be like, all right, shit, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. Fuck, I'm out. You know what I mean?
I mean, I could definitely see that. And like, I know he was very frustrated with like the Brady situation because he did want to get rid of Brady. So I think if there was any point, it would have been then. But now, like, again, he acts as GM for them. Like, he has like complete control up there.
Right. Yeah.
So like, again, not many coaches can say that. Like, Kraft literally just lets him almost, for the most part, other than the Brady situation, deal with everything. So I don't think he would get that at a lot of other places. Again, a lot of owners like Jerry Jones, like he just, power hungry and wants to be in control. Kraft's kind of like, hey, you've definitely, proved your worth over the years. You could, run this team for the most part how you want. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I hope he stays there and, retires a Patriot. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good way to go out. Him, the face of the Patriots, really, it's so dominant. Last question on the NFL front for you boys before we move into college football. That's right. We talk it all here on Johnny Radio. So this is for both of you. Tyson, let's go first. Biggest takeaway so far 5 weeks through the NFL season that's jumped out to you?
Ooh, yeah.
Titans look good, man.
Yeah.
The Titans look good, man. I thought that was fake. I thought that was 2017 Jacksonville. Man, Ryan Tannehill has a 18-point higher passer rating than Patrick Mahomes in the last 17 games.
Crazy.
Ryan Tannehill, bro.
Oh, but he only throws 8 times a game. Yeah, but he wins.
Yeah,
dude, he kills it though, man.
He put 50 last night on the Bills, and I thought the Bills looked good. I think the Titans look good, and we talked about it at the beginning of the show a little bit, but I'm pleasantly surprised with the Oakland Raiders as well. I think Gruden has done a great job, and like we said about Brian Flores, kind of flipping the culture over there, and they got mocked for those draft picks in year 1, and all of a sudden they got a bunch of guys who are going out there to play football, and they're doing it. And it's those two teams. I think the AFC kind of needed some new blood after the last couple of years, and both those teams look primed to be good for a while.
Love it. What about you, Kyle?
Yeah, so I completely agree with both those statements and takeaways from the Raiders as well as the Titans. I was very impressed by them last night. I guess I'll switch it up a little bit, though. First team I'd say that's been very impressive is the Packers. Again, them drafting Jordan Love, I think, that kind of lit a fire under Rodgers' ass, and he's really, out to prove something. He's been phenomenal. And, even without, the lack of receiver talent, Adams has been hurt. I know that other kid that they drafted or picked up, that Lazard or whatever his last name.
Yeah, Alan Lazard.
He's out on IR now, and they're still looking, really good. And that defense, I don't think it's great, but it's holding up enough that if Aaron puts up 28, 30 points, they'll win the game. So they've been very impressive. I'd like to see them, how the rest of the season goes and how that all shapes out. Because I think this is probably going to be one of Rodgers' last runs. So it'll be interesting to see if he could, make it happen. And then I'd say a team that's been pretty disappointing is the Saints. I'm very surprised on how much Drew Brees has appeared to drop off.
Yeah.
He just can't throw the ball. And I'm not gonna lie, Chargers in classic Chargers fashion blew that game.
Yeah.
Kickers.
Right. Anthony Lynn being conservative. It's just terrible. And I feel bad for Herbert the most because, I think he's going to be special.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And they have players on that team. It's just things like special teams and the coaching decisions towards the end of the game, man. It's just going to hold him back. But yeah, back to the Saints. Just haven't looked great. I think the offense is kind of stagnant. I mean, I know they lost Thomas, but even without him, everything's underneath. They're throwing 3, 4, 5 yard drag routes, comebacks. They can't push the ball down the field at all. I don't think that's going to help them later on in the season when push comes to shove. But we'll see. I think they're 3-2. I mean, they're definitely still in position, in that NFC South division. I think they're tied with I guess they have the tiebreaker over the Bucs because they beat them, and then the Panthers are also 3-2. But yeah, we'll see.
What about you, Johnston? Give us your surprises so far.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have too much to add. I like to see a team like the Chargers doing well with Herbert. I'd like to see the Steelers coming back with us, with Roethlisberger doing his shit. But at the same time, we don't know what to expect, and it's so hard to bet during these NFL games week to week. Which is a good thing, actually, because, we've seen a lot of scoring that we haven't seen before. And we don't know what the Browns are yet. We got the Steelers and Browns next weekend, which should be great. Other than that, I don't know. I'm just really excited for what the NFL is putting out there as far as just, teams being interesting. And I know we have a lot of polarizing games with the Giants and Jets being on Thursday Night Football and all that, but whatever. We're all in for it. We're all in for football. So
no, I completely agree. I think that the most surprising thing, and maybe it's not surprising, but I think the most telling thing for me is the NFL just shows how organizationally elite they are at pivoting anytime during the COVID.
You see a game like Seattle versus Dallas, on a late Sunday night, and everyone watches it.
Yeah,
that's a big game, and everyone watches it. It really is.
Well, I'm saying even late, they pushed the Bills to Tuesday night, and we're oh, they're supposed to play Thursday. Oh, we'll just move it to Sunday. And it's all right, well, let's go. We're gonna go out and play. Just how bought in these teams and organizations are.
Exactly.
It's great to watch.
And I did forget to mention the Bills because I know they got their ass kicked by the Titans, but the Bills are fucking on a trajectory to do well. Josh Allen, I fucking love him. Let's see how it goes. Let's ride.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's pivot to college football. Tyson, I hate to do this to you, bro, but we got to talk LSU. And you're the defending champ, so you can be happy for a while. Is it just the case of they lost so much talent
Bro,
and it's hard to overcome?
It doesn't. They suck. It doesn't matter, man. When Missouri is putting up 50 points on you, man, they signed Bo Pelini, hired him to be the new defensive coordinator. Everyone's all excited. You're losing Dave Aranda. He's a great defensive mind. We're replacing him with this guy.
$2 million.
5 stars all over the field. And
why does Bo Pelini ever have a job ever?
That's what I thought as soon as they hired him.
Such a joke.
He's got the most punchable face, I think, in the entire United States. But no, I mean, they suck. And then I forgot what it was like to be an LSU fan pre-Joe Burrow when you're watching that quarterback play and you're like, that guy sucks. Miles Brennan sucks. But, this is, it is what it is. You got to go just back to the old school. I mean, Terrace Marshall's been a bright spot for him, but you can't win games when you allow these second-tier programs, third-tier programs in the SEC to put up 50 bombs on you. Mm-hmm. And week one, I think they kind of got caught by surprise with the Mike Leach offense at Mississippi State. But if you didn't know that was coming, what did you do all offseason? You didn't watch a single Mike Leach football game? And so, like,
Right.
they fell off a cliff. Curious to see what happens next year, but Edo bought himself enough time that I don't think he's truly sweating. So we'll see with recruiting cycles and everything. But yeah, I'm looking at 6-6. Let's see if they can make a bowl game.
Wow, that's huge. That's a statement.
They suck.
Yeah, they're not good.
Yeah.
They're not good.
Yeah, they're not.
It's been a tough fall so far with your teams.
You can't lose to Missouri like that. That's just bad.
No.
Kyle, we're going to talk about your guy, but in the college space now, Trevor Lawrence. Is anybody beating Clemson? Because, I mean, Miami, everybody's like, oh, they got a shot, and they got fucking crushed. Like, that wasn't even close. It wasn't for a stupid block field goal. Dabo, I think, was just like, fuck it, let's see if we can kick one this far.
Yeah, honestly.
Talk to you about Clemson.
I mean, again, I don't want to say like I'm like some bandwagon Clemson fan. I've followed them for a while. I've always kind of liked their players coming out of there, especially being a big receiver guy. You know, Sammy Watkins way back with like Taj Boyd. But, you know, looking at them now, I think this is and could be an all-time Clemson team, even though they lost a lot of talent. You know, Lawrence and ETN are just a force to be reckoned with. I really think that ETN especially does not get enough credit. I know they had a little segment on him this past week for College Game Day. And, you know, obviously everyone knows he's a superstar, but I don't think people actually realize how good and how the numbers he's putting up. Like, I think he just broke the all-time touchdown scoring. Like, he's 39 touchdowns, just broke that record. I think he's right up at the top at all-time rushing yards in the ACC. Like, some really big, you know, statistical milestones. And, you know, after that Miami game, you know, Miami's big trash talking team, you know, classic, think, you know, they're good for 30 seconds and they think they're on top of the world. And, you know, I think Clemson took that as a sign of disrespect and they showed them, you know, who really is the best still. I mean, that was a beatdown. You know, if that field goal wasn't blocked and if Lawrence didn't get hit from behind and fumble on his one rush attempt, that could have been, you know, 56-10. You know, and again, even with those couple mistakes, they were dominant. You know, they stopped King. I mean, he broke out a couple runs, but he could not throw the ball at all.
They literally had no offense the first half.
Yeah, I mean, they shut him down. And you know, ACC is actually, you know, for at least how ranked teams, you know, how they're going so far. They have, they had a couple teams in the top 10. You know, North Carolina,
Mac Brown,
baby, coming back. They're what, 5 in the country now?
Something like that.
Think about that.
Yeah, that's nuts. I really like their quarterback, Sam Howell. Very young kid. I think he is, again, a lot to prove and a bright future looking ahead. I don't know if their defense is quite there yet. I think who they just play, Virginia Tech, put up like 45 on them. You know, that's not
that 1-2 punch out of the backfield is insane.
No, I know.
Oh yeah.
But that'll be interesting. I'm not even sure if Clemson has to play North Carolina. I assume with all these, you know, conference games that they do. But, you know, that's a game definitely to look forward to. But I don't see anyone, you know, beating Clemson, to be honest. I'm really curious to see how Ohio State looks. I don't think Alabama's there with that defense after Kiffin just shredded that team.
Yeah.
Destroyed. I love that so much.
Oh, I'm completely 100% there. But yeah, maybe Ohio State in the playoff. You know, Georgia, I don't know if they could put up enough points. We'll see. But yeah, I don't see anyone beating them unless some, you know, Lawrence or ETN gets hurt.
We got a big tilt coming up here too with Georgia and Bama, and Saban just testing positive for COVID.
That's right.
That's going to make things. That might change the entire landscape of the season. Just that one positive test.
Absolutely. Now you got Sarkisian taking over in person.
Taking his nose.
Oh
and
God.
Yeah.
Pick,
Doing Sarkisian
on
thing.
the sidelines, baby.
I mean, because I will say Alabama's offense hasn't missed a step. And I mean, you lose 2 first-round receivers last year, but you got 2 more this year. It's like, come on, man. Like, and Mac Jones, you know, he's making a little name for himself. He looks pretty good, like draftable good.
Yo, he hasn't missed a beat, and he won't. It's just that defense, which is fine because, like, Alabama gets those recruits, but I don't know. Like you can't let up 48 to Ole Miss like that. That's my only concern.
Yeah, and I mean Georgia's defense probably the best in the country, so it's going to be strength on strength.
The best, yeah,
right. Yeah. So, I mean that's going to be a fun one. I think that's the Gary Danielson 3:30 game too, right? Tyson on CBS.
Cool.
Yeah,
my man.
Yeah, he's great. I don't get the Gary Danielson hate.
Oh man, I hate that guy.
But this is the last weekend without. I know. This is the last weekend without Big Ten football.
Yeah.
And I think probably there's really only 3 true contenders. In Michigan, we've been saying that for however long Harbaugh's been there. But then obviously Ohio State and Penn State. And I think Michigan State might be sneaky good. And, they got a first-year coach who came over from Colorado. So I'm not sure how he's going to be able to implement his stuff there. But I think this could be a down year for the Big Ten besides it being Ohio State, Penn State. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, really my only concern is there's nothing that's going to work out well for Penn State in the long run because we're probably going to lose to Ohio State, and that's fine. It's going to be a shootout. We'll see what happens, whatever. But, you have the Big 12 obviously being out of contention this year, and then you have the Pac-12 out of contention, and then you see what happens in the SEC with, Florida kind of out of it right now, and then Georgia, Alabama sitting there. Penn State's going to go 10-2 or what's the reschedule this year?
I think it's 10 conference games in the Big
10 conference games.
I think so.
They'll go 9-1 or whatever, and then they'll have that one loss to OSU, and then that'll be it, which is fine. But we're just going to be subjected again to that. Period.
Just the difference between a program of Ohio State's.
And I'm tired, and I'm so sick of tired of being okay, Ohio State, blah, 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 they're going to do this, win. But it's probably going to happen. But I mean, we'll see. You know what I mean?
I mean, what do you think about that, Tyson? Overall, I mean, you're a big SEC guy, and all you hear is the Big Ten's close to SEC, and continually it's not when you look at the draft. I mean, what do you think about that overall? Where this could be a down year for the Big Ten? Do you think that's possible?
I mean, yeah, I think it is possible. I mean, with how crazy this whole offseason has been with people opting out and opting back in, stuff like that, it's hard to really get a read on who's going to be good. I agree with you that I think it'll be an Ohio State walkover, but I might be more high on Penn State than you guys. You guys can speak to that better than I can. I don't believe in Michigan. I never will.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh lost me when he had that sleepover at that high school kicker's house. I haven't been a fan since then.
Was it Nordine? I think was his last name.
Yeah. You slept at a high school kid's house for a 45-yard field goal. That's creepy. But
can they
45-yard field goal?
But Ohio State they're the cream of the crop in that part of the country, and year after year they turn out incredible recruits. But if there is going to be a year that they fall off, it could be this one. I mean, I'm a huge believer in Justin Fields, but there's a lot of talent to replace on that team as well. And without really being able to work into a college football season, because they take good teams early in the season normally and they beat them, but that's kind of a work-in period. And now you're just jumping right in to play teams who really, really want to knock you off. And we're seeing it right now with LSU. You got a bunch of 18-year-old kids out there. They're not really sure. They're not sure how this whole thing works. And so Ohio State's going to jump in, and they're going to get punched in the mouth early by somebody. And I'm curious to see how they respond.
That's interesting. I mean, Kyle, you're always high on Ohio State, even as a Penn State fan. You just respect the program and the excellence. It's really hard not to, even as someone, all of us who, dislike Ohio State. But, I mean, what are your thoughts? You're plugged into the Big Ten in terms of you really follow it and keep up with the conference.
Yeah, so I guess I'll weigh in on Ohio State first. I do think they'll probably, win outright and get to the college football playoff. I know they did lose a decent amount of talent, but I think Justin Fields' leadership and, how much he basically was on the forefront of, playing the season at all. He's dialed in, and I really think he wants to show that this team can compete at, the highest levels and possibly compete for national championship. And I believe Chris Olave is still there, their all-star outside receiver, which is big because, he's going to be an asset for sure on the outside. I mean, he made huge plays against Penn State, last few years. Other than that, Michigan, they just can't figure out the quarterback situation, which, it's a quarterback, league. Same with the NFL. I mean, obviously more so in the NFL, but even in college, like if you can't move the ball consistently or push the ball downfield, you're not going to do too hot. It's going to be really interesting. I think a sleeper could be Minnesota.
You're high on Minnesota.
I love PJ Fleck. Again, I don't think he gets enough credit.
And Bateman's coming back, right?
Bateman is coming back. I was literally just going to say that. That is a huge asset to them. That's a top 10 player in the Big Ten for sure. Tanner Morgan, I think, he has the experience. He has the leadership. They kind of all rally around him. I think they could do well.
Do you think they can compete with Wisconsin? Because they're very underrated too. I mean, obviously they generally are, but
yeah.
Wisconsin's quarterback's out for the year though. Jack Cohen's out.
He is, but they have that. Who is it?
A more mobile guy, I think, right? But yeah, sorry.
Right? Yeah. I don't know his name. But
yeah, I don't either. But I mean, that's going to be interesting because, again, I was looking at the schedule, and I don't believe Minnesota.
They're very favorable. I know.
No, yeah, they are.
Yeah,
they don't play. Minnesota doesn't play Penn State or Ohio State.
Nope. Yep.
So they have Wisconsin, which is probably going to be their biggest game. And like you said, Wisconsin's starting QB is out. So, that's a big loss for them. I think that's definitely a winnable game. And if, they win outright, I mean, hey.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
That's just a free ticket to lose to Ohio State 59-0 in the Big Ten title game, though.
It's like that one Wisconsin team who lost to the
Melvin Gordon.
The Cardale Jones.
What was it?
Ohio State
60-3. It was so
that game was bad.
It was bad. Oh my god!
Shout out to Melvin Gordon, by the way, dude. Shout out to Uber.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, dude. DUI coming in late. I'm like, I don't know if but he's in Denver now. So do we know it was alcohol or was it something else that he enjoys?
I read that whole thing. I'm like, that's definitely something else that's going on there.
He went from California to Denver. I think we know why. Johnson, you want anything else you want to add on the Big Ten? Because I want to ask these boys something I'm curious about.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So I'm excited for Minnesota to get Bateman back, and obviously we're not all sold on Sean Clifford with Penn State, which is fine. He is a serviceable quarterback. That's all I'm going to say. And, I don't know. I'm very excited for Ohio State, Penn State. So we'll see.
This is my question, and I'm very curious about all three of you guys' answer here because I'm not a fan of Big 12 football. I think it's soft. I don't like the non-tackling, and I get they score a lot of points, but at some point when the defense is so incompetent, it's just not a fun watch. And Oklahoma seems like they skate on their reputation of being Oklahoma. And when they get into the college football playoff, it seems like they always just get stomped because they're a Big 12 team. I'm kind of glad they lost 2 early because now they got no shot at winning or advancing to the college football playoff. But just give me your guys' thoughts on the Big 12 as a conference overall and just, how it turned from really being an elite program with Texas, Missouri was there, obviously Oklahoma, and then turns into a flag football game with pads on.
So I can actually react to that a little bit because I know someone that went to UT and played football there. They purposely don't recruit defense. And that's not like a hard stance, but that's actually what they do. They are purposely looking for people that stand out on their offensive side, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, what they can do to score points. And that's sort of been their offensive game plan for the past 12 years, 14 years. I mean, since Vince Young was there.
I mean, yeah, it's don't get me wrong, it's very entertaining to watch, but it's tough to, watch those games as, someone who evaluates and decides who's going to be in the, college football playoff and end up choosing one of them. Because it's flag football. It's bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's honestly like high school. It's like, these kids are even like 3-4 they even get some, like Texas, some 5-star recruits, and it's just like, it's laughably bad. And it's not even just the tackling. It's just, they're out of position. They're not even like, you're supposed to be playing like a cover 2 and the safety's like down in the box. Like, it's like, what are you doing? So again, I don't know if that goes back on coaching or these kids just don't care. Like, I don't really know. I will say that one team that, again, I respect the coach a lot. I know he's gotten some flack recently with some comments or whatever he said, but I love Gary Patterson.
Yeah.
Same.
He's extremely, extremely underrated. And his team usually plays some, tough defense. Back when he had, Andy Dalton, they beat Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. I mean, that defense was legit.
People give him so much shit still because he doesn't have the offense that he used to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, he still has a defense, and it's the same thing with like Oklahoma State, and you know what I mean. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're like Gary Patterson and his team is like an exception. Other than that, it is pretty laughably bad. I mean, the worst probably being, Kansas with Les Miles, a national championship winning coach.
So you look at a team like with Kansas, Les Miles. Why is he doing what he's doing? Why?
Dude, I honestly couldn't even give. Yeah, maybe money, but other than that,
there's no enjoyment. You can't get anything out of it. You're not going to build yourself for getting something. Like, why?
I could enjoy a lot of things with money.
Yeah,
but like, I mean, come on, like, what the fuck?
I understand what you're saying. It is a curious why he chose to go there. I don't know. It's like, wow.
I don't know what
and be that bad at what he's doing. I just can't figure it out.
Even if it was for the money, I don't know what he's doing out there. What is he buying up cornfields? Like, I don't.
Yeah, like even if it's for the money, like
that's where the property is.
You fucking like kill yourself, Jesus Christ! Like,
he seems like he's off the wall, anyways. Getting back to the Big 12, though, one point I wanted to make on that, because we're talking about their defense and not ever being able to stop anybody, but it's curious when they do go to the college football playoff and they get held to 14 points, 21 points, because these other college defensive coordinators are able to scheme around what they do, and they're stopping Heisman Trophy winner Baker Mayfield with Georgia when they beat them, or last year when LSU stomped Oklahoma into the ground. It's over and over. We see them go to these big games, and then they just get thoroughly outcoached, outmatched, out-physicaled over and over again, and you're watching it and you're like, how is no other Big 12 coach thinking like, man, if I could do a little bit of that. Like, let's try to score 75 this week.
Well, we think about a guy like Lincoln Riley too. Like, he can only you can't develop anyone. You know what I mean? So
not on the defense, certainly.
I mean, what do you think about like Lincoln Riley, like having a quarterback come in, like him teaching shit?
I guess I'll touch on this. I mean, I think Lincoln Riley is pretty, I don't know. He's pretty creative on the offensive side of the ball. I'd say like he has had success with, young quarterbacks that have moved on into the NFL. As like a head coach and like someone who, is in charge at the end of the day of, a team as a whole and the defense, I don't quite think he's all the way there yet. But, it's going to be interesting to see because, is Rattler the answer? And
right.
if they can't be putting up what they normally are, or, Rattler's making all these bad decisions and putting their defense even, in worse scenarios, and they're already bad. I mean, they won't be getting back to the college football playoffs anytime soon.
So I can't remember. Like, I know Rattler's like being like put like in a unique situation right now where he's very young, but was like Baker like that? I can't.
No, he was like a 2-time transfer.
Yeah.
Right. So he was
older.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Kyler Murray transfers from A&M, and he was in that program for a little bit.
Right. So they were both. Okay. It still wasn't the same. Okay.
Yeah, and obviously everybody knows Jalen Hurts. I think when you go back to the development, like when we talk about Lincoln Riley, this is the first project he's had, right? Because he had Baker Mayfield, who knew the system, older guy. Then Kyler Murray, the next guy in line. Mm-hmm. Oh, then we get a grad transfer. Oh, where's he transferred from? Nick Saban. Oh, yeah, he's a winner and he knows how to lead. Oh, perfect situation. Then you got a kid who's a hot shot, kind of like one of the new age guys. Like, it's all about social media. He's a young guy and he's turnover prone. He's really talented. Like, he makes throws that, I don't even think even Baker Mayfield was making in college, where it's like, but you got to develop him to make these smart plays and to coach out those turnovers. And I think this is going to be a test to see how good of a coach Lincoln Riley is, because, I mean, you'll hear the talking heads. It's like, well, why don't the Cowboys call Lincoln Riley? It's like, well, is Lincoln Riley really going to do that much for the Cowboys?
I mean, do you
know
still
what I mean?
Do you still think that, like, a 2-2 Oklahoma team?
I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who's like, it's just Oklahoma, it's college. But it's like, yeah, but there's a reason. Like, Oklahoma has the best team in the Big 12 every time they step on the field. Like, they should not lose to Kansas State, who had players out for COVID, and then choke a game against Iowa State.
I mean, just from their recruiting alone, they should win 90% of their games.
Right.
You know, that's
which they did under Stoops, to be fair, under Bob Stoops.
No, yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's kind of what college football is in a weird way. Like, if you can recruit and you're a big program, you know, you should be winning, you know, 80% of your games. And then the last, you know, 2-3 games of the season, when it's like competitive and you're playing equal talent, that's when it comes down to coaching.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen, you know, even though Lincoln Riley, for example, I think, again, he is very, you know, creative offensively, but, you know, when he plays teams with a semblance of a defense, you know, he struggles a little bit. So it will be interesting to see how this whole Spencer Rattler and the rest of the season turns out, because obviously Rattler is very talented. I just think, you know, Lincoln needs to just calm him down and, you know, teach him kind of how to go through your reads. You know, he has time in the pocket. You know, it's not always the first, you know, guy you're looking at. You know, you could check it down, you could throw the ball away. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you know, he'll get the team back to, you know, 8, 9, 10 wins again. The division isn't that, or the conference isn't that, you know, tough.
What do you guys think of Tom Herman? Is he done?
It's getting close.
Yeah, he's getting close.
He's getting close, man.
Was it 2 years ago? Sam Ellinger was like everybody's hot pick to win the Heisman before the season.
Yeah.
Now that dude gets to line up and play quarterback for one of the biggest programs in the country over and over again, and he hasn't gotten any better in the last 2 years. He looks like the same kid. I mean, you can have your urine charts or whatever to make sure everybody's hydrated and all that other shit he's got going on down there. But, I mean, Tom Herman was the hottest name in college football a couple of years ago, and I've been thoroughly unimpressed by what he's done at that program.
He's been like around 500 with most of his wins since then.
I think
since that Sugar Bowl win, I think.
Yeah, I think he's 18-12 in the Big 12. So that's
that doesn't cut it.
That's not great.
Not
great.
Not
with that Texas money either.
No, that's what I was going to say. That money, that's not going to cut it.
Speaking of a program that's really underachieved, a dormant giant, let's fix USC. What do they need? Because I mean, it's been embarrassing, right? I mean, to have that many players leave your state when they would go when you had, you know, Pete Carroll there and they were just dominating. And obviously, you know, back in the day too, like the old heads can talk about, USC, you know, that was before us. We really knew USC with Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
I mean, is it as simple as they just need a new coach, or what's the issue?
I'll go first on this one. I just think like they're not flashy enough. Like, I mean, that's a weird answer, but if I'm an 18-year-old kid and I want to go play football, LA has to be somewhere near the top of my list. And they're losing out on these recruits because over and over again, it's like, I could go live in LA and I could win 6 games a year. I could go down to Alabama, sit for 2 years, win 2 natties, you know, and maybe go in the first round of the draft. They're not turning out pros like they used to. The shine is completely gone from that program. They've bungled the head coach situation for years in a row now. And I just think they're in the most attractive spot probably to get recruits. And it's like the offense is boring. The defense sucks. And you're like, when you're losing games to like Oregon State and I'm watching that at home, I'm not taking that scholarship. That's what it is.
I think that's a great point. And when you look at it, you play games against like Oregon State, whatever, and then your one competitor is Oregon, right? Like in the Pac-12, right? So it's hard to say you need to bring like a big name in there to coach. I don't know if that's the answer or not.
Yeah. They're in like a weird situation right now. I actually kind of like their QB, Kevin Slabis. He's actually pretty high on some big boards. for returning QBs this season. It is sad to see. JT Daniels was there, and he transferred to Georgia, which is also surprising because he's not starting there. So I don't know what the deal is with that.
Yeah.
But
did he opt out because of COVID and then try to come back?
Yeah, that's what happened.
Is that what
happened?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, because I think JT Daniels is legit. 5-star recruit. Him coming in, after they had Darnold, they were good with Darnold. I mean, they had a flashy offense. They had Juju, they had Adoree Jackson, I believe, or was it Ronald Jones? One of the two.
Ronald Jones.
Yeah, Ronald Jones. They were flashy then, and they put up points. Again, defense wasn't great, but I think they need to get back to almost what Tyson said. They got to get back to flashy, and they're out in LA. I mean, they used to be doing like drugs on the sidelines.
Snoop got to be a practice.
Yeah, if that's
I think they're still trying to get over like the Lane Kiffin, just like having him, like a flashy like guy come out there. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if that's the wrong decision because I think it is to have a guy like that come out there, but I don't know who could fix it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the flashy thing though will get people there, and then if they could like tame them down and have them understand that like there's all this fun, but at the same time like we have like a legit chance to be a real program. Again, it's like a weird
because it's wide open right now. Because
they
have all that talent. Like
they
can get it. They have.
Yeah, they can get it. Yeah, it's just I don't know.
That's what Pete Carroll did, right? He's like
exactly.
We got obviously we think of Reggie Bush. But Keyshawn Johnson, even before, that team was flashy. They put up a ton of points, but they would also beat the shit out of you on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing about their identity was, obviously, we all know about Pete. Like, he wants to make you not play in the second half. Like, he wants to crush you.
We don't want to touch him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think something like that. Honestly, if I'm them, if I can't get Urban Meyer, which I think that's their golden goose, I look at the NFL. I mean, what better thing to get kids in high school and be like, yo, I know what it takes to get in the NFL. Come to this program.
So what would it take for get a Cliff Kingsbury to come back to do that? You know what I mean?
He ain't leaving Arizona unless they drag him out of there. He's got his guy in Murray. He's chilling.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, but what would it take? You know what I mean? Like to make that transition.
I'd say like $10 million.
I don't know if the NFL is the move though, because you like somebody that obviously it's not the hardest spot to recruit to, but you still have to have somebody that understands the ins and outs of recruiting on a deep level. Because like if you went and got, just for example, like a recently fired Dan Quinn or something, he's coming in there, he doesn't know what the hell is going on. Like they just have to recruit LA. Like Pete Carroll said when he was there, and they'll be fine.
Saying. Like, right.
But you have to find somebody that knows how to recruit LA.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a fair point. And it's kind of like it seems like it's a simple fix for them, but they just fuck themselves over and over where it's like it was like, oh, maybe it's this margin. Now it's like off the screen. It's like I don't even know where to start. We got to go from the ground up again.
No, I completely agree.
And all right, boys. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and it's going to be interesting to see if Slavis pans out or what they're going to do after him. Just because if you think back, USC has had a rich history with quarterbacks, over the years, and a couple of them winning Heisman, a lot of them obviously going to the NFL.
You'll get Darnold back, man. Come on.
Yeah, seriously. I guess before Brad, you wrap up or say whatever you have to say. I was going to say it's going to be interesting with the Pac-12. I think they're only playing 7 or 8 games, but if like an Oregon or someone does end up running the table, do they have a shot at the playoff? It's going to be an interesting question.
Absolutely.
I think so. I think they do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so our wrap up here, boys. I just want to know, like, it's tough to predict the college football playoff right now, but just give 5 teams for everybody out there, who's kind of getting back into college football to keep an eye on going forward. Tyson, let's start with you.
I mean, Ohio State, Clemson, Bama is obviously the big 3. After that, it gets kind of tricky. I mean, my worst case scenario for this weekend or for the coming weeks is Georgia beats Bama without Saban on the sideline. Bama gets back, beats Georgia. There's 2 SEC teams in the playoffs right there with the other 2. And I'm trying to think of a 5th one, but I mean, to me, I think right now those are the 4 best teams in college football. I don't know. Somebody give me some names.
I was actually talking to Brad about this. I don't know if it was earlier yesterday or whenever earlier in the week. But looking at the teams that are still undefeated, and this is not counting the Pac-12, this is teams who have played a game. There are a decent amount of teams that can theoretically win their conference and run the table. I'm not saying that they're going to get picked to obviously go into the playoff, but teams like Cincinnati or an SMU or a BYU or, if Oklahoma State runs the Big 12, what happens with them? I mean, if everyone else has a loss or two, that's going to be hard to tell Cincinnati with 10 or 11 wins, hey, sorry. So we'll have to see.
I'm just nervous about the precedent that the College Football Playoff Committee set a couple years ago when they let the 2 SEC teams in over an undefeated UCF. I'm just hoping they don't fall back on that this year because, granted, that was a great national championship game, but I just don't think that's the way things should be done.
No, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's an argument for an expansion too, but that's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I really think there's 3, maybe 4 front runners, and after that, I definitely say it falls off. So I don't know if the expansion would necessarily be a great thing. I know there's a lot of statistics. If you look at the average score of the games, at least in the first game, it's kind of ridiculous. There haven't been a lot of close games at all. But it'll be interesting to see. If North Carolina loses, Notre Dame loses, they're still undefeated. Kind of how the top 10, top 8 starts to shape out in terms of seeding when we get farther into the season.
What about you, Johnson? Who you keeping an eye
on? So I'm going to give Clemson that nod, and then I'm going to go Penn State over Ohio State. They're going to get that. So number 2. And I'm not going to give Notre Dame or UNC or any of them. So I'm going to give Georgia and you know what? Let's ride with SMU. They're going to ride.
There we go. All right.
Pony Express, baby.
Pony Express, man. We're coming back.
I love it. I think my 5 teams that I'm interested in just seeing how the season goes. Obviously, number 1, Clemson, right? This could be Trevor Lawrence's last ride. It is his last ride. I want to see that, and they're going to dominate teams. 2, Bama. Without Tua, they're still putting up offense, but Saban's defense starting to have a couple flaws in it, which is surprising. 3, I am going to go Notre Dame. Notre Dame, Ian Book. I'm curious to see how they finish. Are they elite or not? That's always the question with Notre Dame, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on.
Yeah, but the answer is always no.
Hey, not with Manti Te'o and his fake girlfriend.
Yeah, that's true.
Number 4, Ohio State. Justin Fields, last hurrah. Ryan Day, can he do it with Urban's players before he has to start getting his own recruits in there? And number 5, I'm going to go Homer, Penn State. Can they finally knock off Ohio State and then be in the driver's seat for the Big Ten? Those are my 5 teams right now. Fuck the Big 12. Fuck the Pac-12. We're going Midwest over.
Yo, the Big Ten's gonna fucking ride this year, man. We're gonna fucking take over Ohio State. Fuck.
We got Johnson's dog on here. Before we sign off, boys, make sure to follow us on the nakedtake.com. All of us are contributors. Johnson's going to get going on there. He says he wants to do some blog stuff. Tyson does MMA. Tyson's going to do some more college football. Kyle does entertainment, some movie reviews. Hopefully theaters come back. But he's doing Netflix stuff, and he's going to do some more college football stuff, he said. I know you guys are big Instagram people over Twitter. So, Tyson, plug your Instagram.
It's just at Tyson Gentry, TysonGentry. Just pop my handsome face on there 24/7.
Kyle, plug yours.
So it's just my first and last name. So it's Kyle Banashevsky. That's KyleBanashefski. I know that's a handful, but it'll be worth a follow. I promise you.
Go give him a follow. Johnston, let's sign us off.
Johnny Hazoff at JOHNNY. Hazoff, like you're hazing someone. So HAZEOFF. Check out our podcast at Johnny Radio Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Brad, leave it back to you.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter, BWakai, BWAKAI. Again, check out both podcasts. Johnny Radio, we're on Spotify, Apple Pods. You can watch our beautiful faces on YouTube and now on Amazon music. So that's a big thing for you Amazon people. And then you've heard Tyson Gentry on mine, Brad Wakai Show, Apple Pods, just got it up on Spotify as well. So follow us all. We'll definitely be talking more about football. It's been a hell of a roundtable discussion, boys. Always a fun time to chop it up and talking ball.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me.
No, yeah, it's been an
Absolutely.
absolute pleasure. And I'll be in State College for the Ohio State game, so maybe a little special look into the scene around town. So looking forward to it.
We'll have boots on the ground.
Oh, we got boots on the ground. Awesome.
All right, boys, have a good one.
Yep.
Later, guys.
See you guys.
I swear to God I wasn't born to fight. Maybe just a little bit, enough to make me sick of it. But I can read between the lines. I want to run from everything, but my legs won't work, it's clear